Hi guys, I want to use an egg delivery analogy to explain the concept of hypoxia. At the end of this video, you are going to be able to understand hypoxia way better than you do right now. So imagine we want to deliver an egg to a particular house down a particular road, like I have on my illustration on your screen. So how do we get the egg to the house? First, we need eggs. Then we package the eggs or arrange them on crates. We arrange the crates of eggs in a van. Then we need a driver to drive the van full of crates of eggs down the road and deliver the egg to the occupants of the house. Then the occupants of the house can use the eggs for a number of things, like to make omelette or boiled egg. We can use this to understand how the body delivers oxygen to tissues, to cells. So we need oxygen to be in blood. Some of those oxygen will be bound to hemoglobin, which is analogous to the crates. So oxygen itself is analogous to the eggs. So we need to bind some of the oxygen to hemoglobin, which are the crates. Then hemoglobin is carried in blood. So the van is analogous to blood. The driver of the van is analogous to the heart, which will basically pump blood throughout the body. The road the van drives down will be analogous to patent blood vessels, which are conduits for blood. And then the occupants of the house are the cells that make up the tissue. The omelette will be ATP, which is what cells can use oxygen, right, to synthesize. So what can go wrong? First, there might be no oxygen at all. So no oxygen is getting into the blood. Maybe problem with the lungs. The air that I'm breathing in contains less oxygen. So that will lead to hypoxemic hypoxia. Because if I have no egg whatsoever, no oxygen whatsoever, there will be nothing to arrange on crates, which is hemoglobin. So hypoxemic hypoxia, there are no eggs at all getting to the blood. If there are eggs, oxygen in the blood, but there are no crates to carry the oxygen, there are no hemoglobins to carry the oxygen, that will be anemic hypoxia. There may be oxygen and hemoglobin, but there isn't enough blood volume. The van has broken down, or there is no driver to create pressure to drive the van around. No, the heart is not pumping, or the road is blocked. The blood vessels are stenosed, occluded. So those last three mechanisms will lead to ischemic hypoxia. There will be no delivery of blood to tissue. Or we have oxygen in the blood. Some of those oxygens are bound to hemoglobin. The heart is pumping the blood around. The vessels are patent conduits. The oxygen gets delivered to the occupants of the house, the cells that make up the tissue. But The cells lack cooking gas, they lack frying pan, they lack oil to convert the egg to omelette. So the cells don't have electron transport chain. There's no ATP synthase, or something is blocking electron transport chain proteins that prevents the cells from converting oxygen to ATP or from synthesizing ATP using oxygen. So that was what we call cytotoxic hypoxia, where cells have oxygen delivered, but they cannot use it at all. Another mechanism of hypoxia would be if we have bad eggs, right? Let's say carbon monoxide is analogous to bad eggs. So instead of placing healthy eggs, good eggs on the crates, on hemoglobin, carbon monoxide is actually placed on the hemoglobin. It's competing for space with the good eggs, with oxygen. That will also lead to hypoxia. So you may ask yourself now, what are the things that will lead to eggs being available or not in the first place? Or whether the van will pick up eggs or not? So let's go back. Before we go to this street, where would the vans pick up the egg from? They're going to pick it up from, let's say, an egg depot. This egg depot, imagine it's analogous to the lungs. What must happen for the vans to pick up egg at the egg depot to enable them deliver it, right, to the occupants of the houses? So first, the chickens must make eggs, correct? Good eggs, right? The egg shouldn't be cracked or anything. Then the vans need to be able to get to the depot. They should be able to drive to the depot. The road to the egg depot should not be blocked or obstructed. So this also applies, right, to the body. So which means oxygen should be able to get into the lung. The airways should be patent to allow oxygen in from the atmosphere. The alveolar spaces should be patent so that they can be filled with oxygen and create what? A partial pressure of oxygen, right? We call that alveolar partial pressure of oxygen. Then the barrier between the alveolar space and the lumen of the blood vessels must be patent also, must be cleared. Oxygen should be able to move from the alveolar space, which is analogous to the egg depot, must be able to move easily into the blood, which is analogous to the van itself. Yeah. And then I should be able to get blood flow to the lungs. The lungs should be perfused. So causes of hypoxia, where the oxygen in the blood, arterial partial pressure of oxygen is low, may include things like, right, breathing oxygen poor air. The airways are blocked. The alveolar space is not patent. The barrier between the lung and the blood vessel is obstructed, maybe by fluid, fibrosis, or it's destroyed. Or there's no blood flow to the lung itself. So oxygen gets into the lung, egg is being made at the depot, but the vans are not even driving through the depot at all to pick it up. No blood flow, no perfusion. So all those things will lead to hypoxemic hypoxia. And as you can see, we need to pick up oxygen in the lung before we can bind the oxygen, right, to hemoglobin. So which means the arterial partial pressure of oxygen determines hemoglobin saturation. I'm sure you've not had to listen to anyone talk about eggs for 10 straight minutes, but thanks for listening, and I hope this was helpful.